Welcome to the Firmin podcast, where energy meets strategy, intuition fuels success, and healing starts from within. Today we are diving in a very interesting topic: are psychic readings dangerous? And before we start, disclaimer, I respect all religions, all spirituality. I come from a place of love, and let's have an open discussion. So, as you know, I come from this corporate background where I was working in technology for more than 10 years. 2014, I had a massive psychic awakening where I started to have visions. Objects were moving in my bedroom, the door was opening by itself. Imagine the Hollywood scary movie. That's what happened to me. And yes, I was scared. It was the beginning of my journey with meditation, and I went to talk to my Tibetan meditation teacher, telling him, God, am I getting crazy? I'm afraid. And to my surprise, my Tibetan meditation teacher told me, no, you're really good at meditation and you have psychic abilities. Very chilled. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do with that? And, he told me, embrace the relationship you have with the spirit world. And to be honest, I come from quite a posh Parisian family who is not really into spirituality and kind of fears this. Thinking, oh my God, it's going to be like a guru and sect, etc. So I kind of resisted this path for quite a few years, like about 6 years. But I kept having experiences of like spirit connection and messages, especially, for example, in Bali or in cemeteries, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so creepy. What's happening to me? Leave me alone. But the more I resisted, the more it happened. So at some point, I went to see a psychic medium. This was my first experience, and of course I'm not going to mention the name. And the psychic reading was so bad. Honestly, the person described my dad, or tried to describe my dad, and it was like really not resonating. And at that stage, me, who is a professional psychic medium today, but at that time was not yet launched, told myself, oh my God, like these psychic mediums, they are all charlatans. It's not working. It's bullshit. Sorry for the language. And life continues, the spirit activity continued, and I started to train myself at the very renowned College of Psychic Studies in South East London, where I am now one of the teachers, and I became soon after a professional psychic medium. And I was like, what do I do with that? I was in technology. So I started helping people, and this is how I transitioned from technology to holistic. So my business is helping people to find their purpose, reconnect to their energy, their intuition, and also launch their business intuitively based on their own essence and purpose, really. So quite unusual in spirituality, a very grounded approach. And that's why tonight I really want to talk about psychic readings in a very grounded way. And also it's really good to be skeptical, guys. I was the first one being skeptical, and I'm like encouraging you to be skeptical with a psychic medium you just met. So a psychic medium, again, has the ability to download the messages, to know things about you. And if done properly and ethically, it is a very beautiful healing experiences. So when you're a psychic medium, you can be clairvoyant, so using the third eye and have visions. You can be clairaudient, hearing, having words. You can be clairsentient, feeling and inner knowing. I am pretty much all of them, and you can be too. Again, what I want to tell you is everyone is psychic, but society has kind of stigmatized psychic medium as like hoo-hoo or bad. While it's such a shame, you have like amazing power and amazing intuition, and that's why I teach also psychic coaching to people like, we're talking about like CEOs and billionaires and pop stars, not necessarily the yoga teacher, other psychic medium. So everyone is interested in intuition and psychic abilities. Why? Because it helps you navigate life in a much smoother way, because you have your inner guidance that tells you, okay, this is the right relationship for me. I should sign this contract. This is the country where I should live. You have detailed information. And of course, even as a professional psychic medium, you have also a lot of uncertainty. We don't know everything, but we have a sense, we are much more guided. So that's what is incredible. So to answer the question, are psychic readings dangerous? I would like to avoid black and white visions. Because if you remember, when I started to have these psychic readings for the first time, I was in a very black and white vision. I was very skeptical. I was scanning the psychic medium, which you should do, of course. But when it was not right, I was like, okay, all the psychic mediums are charlatan. And it's a bit like if you were going to a therapist and you had a bad experience and you say, all the therapists are bad and I will never do therapy in my life, which will be sad, because there are so much opportunities of growth. So there are great psychic mediums, there are really bad psychic mediums, and there are charlatans, And how do we recognize a good psychic medium from a bad psychic medium, from a charlatan? So first, do your research on how has been trained the psychic medium. For example, the College of Psychic Studies, where I'm a teacher, is a really good school. So this is credibility. Then look at how they make you feel. Because a psychic reading is supposed to make you feel like really uplifted and have a lot of hope. So of course, the psychic medium will receive information that are negative, but if they are professional, they should deliver the information with mindfulness and in a way that is empowering for you. And that's what I teach my students. I am very strict on the fact that they need to be mindful. Because several times in my life, I've had bad psychic readings. And when we talk about it, let me tell you a story. I went to a so-called very good Vedic astrologer. So it's pretty much like a psychic medium, but with a different system. And this person told me that I was going to lose my first child. By the way, I haven't had a child yet. And so maybe it was true, maybe it's going to happen. But imagine the impact it has on a person. And that's why some psychic mediums have such a bad reputation. Is they kind of trying to prove themselves and they say things that will impact people for life. Because as psychic mediums, we have the responsibility of our words. Because you don't know how a person is going to take this. That's why in all my psychic readings, I make sure I tell my clients, always check in if it resonates, because you are the only ones who know your inner truth. I will never try to take the power away from my clients. It is so bad. And people, psychic mediums who do that, run away. This is dangerous, okay? Also, I will always say to my client, spirit talks in symbolism and literally. It's exactly like dreams. So some information might be more like from the metaphor, and some information might be literally this. And generally, the psychic readings with me is very interactive because we are able to put the psychic puzzle together and to map out the truth, or at least the truth at that time. But talking about truth, there is not just one truth. It's like people who say, if you do that in your life, it will be a bad decision. This is not true at all. Remember that we live in a reality where there are several realities. So there is a version of you that is in your 9 to 5. There is another version of you that is a billionaire. There is another version of you, etc. And this is why there is not one truth. And you are the only one who can manifest your life. A psychic reading can help you have some guidance and see how you can empower yourself. I always tell my clients, be mindful and also see where you want to act. Because at the end of the day, you have free will. No one can tell you what to do in your life. No one can say, you're going to lose your child and this is forever. This is not true. And especially if they ask you to pay money or do some mantras, for me, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that. It might be okay with some spirituality. I respect this. What I'm trying to say, this is not my way of doing. Because I will try to empower my clients as much as possible. So for example, I had a client who was asking me some question about their grandmother. And I received the information that their grandmother was going to die, probably. And psychic mediumship is not 100% truth. Whenever you receive the message, be mindful of this. It's extra guidance, but also you can have different information when you pick up a card, or there are lots of ways of working with a matrix universe to give you information, and that's what I teach as well in psychic coaching. So of course I didn't tell my client, your grandma is going to die. What's the point of this? My goal is, again, make sure that they have this flame of hope and excitement and are ready to step into their purpose even more. So for me, what did I say? I told them, spend some time with your grandmother, bring the ties even closer. There are different ways of getting to the same result, which is basically spend some time with your grandmother before you die. Of course, if someone asks me directly, I can be a bit more closer to what's going to happen. But generally, people just want to be reassured. And I don't think there is a need, honestly, to know when am I going to die? What am I going to die for? It's a bit like telling a person who has cancer you're going to live for 3 weeks. There is an immense power on the mind, body, and soul. So you're going to create your reality. So in this sense, psychic readings, I agree, can be dangerous. So that's why make sure that you go to the right person, to a professional. And again, if it was a therapist, it will have the same effect on you. Also, I've noticed that most people are really receptive to psychic readings. They love it. More and more people are having a psychic awakening and having some intuitions and sensitivity, some visions themselves. So a lot of people are coming to me to learn psychic readings via psychic coaching, okay? But I've noticed that there is a section of the Christians that interpreted the Bible as psychic readings are evil, demonic. And I totally respect their view. I'm not trying to change their belief system. For me, my take on this, and who knows, maybe I'm going to change my mind one day, is that Jesus was the first one of having visions, and Jesus was coming for love and for freeing humanity from pain. Also some Christians, and again, it's not a criticism, guys, it's not to start a fight. Some Christians believe that Reiki, like this energy healing, is also really bad. Reiki is the life force energy that is within all of us. It is our birthright. It is not manipulating someone's energy, it is our true power. And Jesus, again, was healing with his hands. So I've never had a really bad experience, or I've never had a bad experience with Reiki or psychic reading when done mindfully. At the contrary, I saw how much psychic readings were transforming my client's life. And that's why on Google, you can see I have 5-star testimonials, and people are saying a psychic reading completely shifted their life. So to keep in mind. But of course, use your judgment. And the best way to make your mind about this is to try a psychic reading, because it's a bit like trying to say, oh, I like chocolate, but I haven't tried it. So of course, have a look. I do online free consultation for 30 minutes for anyone who has questions generally about psychic reading or any kind of my services in Reiki, spiritual life coaching, intuitive business coaching, and psychic mediumship. But you can also book a session online on my website, www.audefirmin.com. So ask me your question about psychic reading, ask me your question about psychic mediumship. I think it is really important to democratize this conversation, because again, we are in a place and time where it is safe to do that. Before, and trust me, I think it was one of my past lives from the visions and insight I received, women especially were burnt for this, women or men. And when you think about it, it was a way to access this higher power. And this, guys, it is our birthright. Again, whatever our religion, whatever our spirituality, we are spiritual beings. And again, I know that spiritual has a lot of connotation, and I was the first one incorporate being, I will never use this word, it's so cringy. But when you think about it, when you break it down, spiritual means with a spirit. So we have a body, we have a mind, and we have a soul, a spirit. So nothing nothing cringy about it. And I really believe, look, you can be modern, you don't have to change yourself. You can live your spirituality without being dogmatic, without trying to change people's mind. Personally, I never try to convince people. I like to have discussions, but only if I'm asked, of course, and you are the one watching this podcast today, because people who come to me, they already have this intuition. And I see a lot of people, generally people who come to me, they are this mix of modern and spiritual, very grounded, very kind people, and they are in this transition of life. A lot of them come from corporate and they want to include more spirituality, connect to their energy so they feel better, they recover from burnout and bullying and breakup, etc. Or on the other side, and also connect to their intuition, their purpose, etc. And on the other side, I have the holistic people who've launched their business already or are about to launch their business. For example, the yoga teacher or the acupuncturist, but they have big challenges with their confidence, with like the scarcity mindset of it's not good to make money, about spirituality, and this will be another topic for another episode. And I help them see, look, you are paying your dentist and you are paying your what else? Your baker. So this is a transaction. This is an exchange of energy, and it should be the same for spirituality. We are not in the monk area, or at least not people like me or like you guys living in London, in the US, in Australia. And if done properly, of course it should be remunerated. But again, if you need to remember something about this episode today is psychic readings can be dangerous if not done properly, or can be life-changing. And it is exactly the same than a bad therapist or a good therapist. That's and everyone can be psychic. Everyone is psychic. You can learn too. And you will be aligned with your spirituality and your religion, unless, of course, it excludes it, and total respect for this. So you can really upgrade your life, at least from my experience and hundreds of clients all over the world. Check my reviews on Google, Aude Firmin on Google Maps. 5-star reviews, I think it speaks by itself. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Spotify and all the other podcast comments. Contact me on my website, on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. I'm pretty much everywhere. And you have access to 30-minute free consultation if you want to get to know me, or book straight away a session on the website. And trust me, you're going to have an amazing experience. I wish for you discover the beauty of psychic mediumship in your life, because it changed my life. It gave me so much confidence. It gave me a purpose. I was really not planning to be a psychic medium. It just came to me. So if you have these signs in your life, even if you're skeptical, just follow. Be curious. And I'm super happy to guide you on this journey. So see you soon to another episode on the podcast. Have a beautiful day.